Welcome back to Breakfast for this Thursday morning. Well, online dating, you've got to be in it to win it. 1 in 10 Aussies are hooking up online. 1,200 singles are listing on websites like rsvp.com daily. So to find out the do's and don'ts of online dating, I'm joined by the fabulous lady Danielle Di-Masi, etiquette expert here on Breakfast. Okay, a lot of perils with the internet, but you can use it to your advantage when you're dating online. You've got some great do's and don'ts. Let's start with your do's.
Okay, first of all, number one, you need to remember that there's still people. So just like the segment that we saw before, we're not online shopping. There's someone at the other end. So you always need to be aware of how you're treating that person. Even if it's through an email or a message, that there's someone receiving that message on the other end. So that's my biggest do, is trying to remember that it's still a person.
It's kind of easy to desensitise though, isn't it?
So easy, but your reaction to someone, if someone was to contact you and you're like, oh, no thanks, you would never do that face to face because you would see the hurt, but someone's sitting on the other end of that message that's receiving that. So always be polite.
It's a cutthroat game though,
dating. It is. And the other do is to be realistic. You wouldn't walk into a bar full of single people and think that you're going to hit it off with everyone in there. So be very realistic about if you do meet with people, some are going to click, some aren't. And my other huge do is have a photo that looks like you now.
Well, this is it. I hear so many people who tell me about this person ticked all the right boxes, they were attracted to them physically, and when they met there, they looked nothing like their photo.
It was either 15 years ago or 15 kilos ago. It needs to look like you now. So that's one of the huge, huge, huge do's, because it might get you more hits and it might get you more coffees, but you've got to understand maybe it's quality over quantity.
And I think one of your tips was also to be very honest, to be real about how you feel about this person.
And what you're after. Like, don't say things like, I love going to the footy if you hate it.
Yeah.
Don't say, I spend every Saturday at Bunnings if you just don't want to be there.
A few little white lies, though, to get your man.
Well, we all do that in the first couple of months anyway.
Okay,
so,
and the other one, okay, so we've debated this around the office.
Okay.
When do you put your profile on hold? Like, is it after the first date?
Right.
Excuse me, is it after 10 dates?
This is a really, really tricky one, and a question that comes up all the time. It has to come down to communication. So you need to communicate where you're both at, because it's very public that you're saying, if you're taking down your profile or changing your relationship status on Facebook, that you're putting it out there to everyone to say, this is my situation at the moment. The other person might not be there.
Yes.
And you might freak them out, make them run away. So first date, you might, people, goodness, get married within 3 months sometimes. Some people take 10 years. So everything is different. So you need to communicate that. Just
okay, so there you do, to put your best foot forward online. What are the don'ts? Because these can bring you undone very quickly.
Yeah. And this, I'll say this, don't, and it's on or offline, don't ask about money. It's none of your business. Yeah. And it's a huge turn-off, huge.
Just look through their drawers for bank account statements.
Is that what you did?
No, it's just I heard people do that.
Yeah, you're like, no, I didn't do that. The other don't is don't talk about your ex.
No.
And don't talk about, especially if you're a woman, that you hate men. Oh, they're all cheaters.
Oh.
No one wants to hear that, but it happens a lot.
Oh, that's just silly.
It is silly, but you'd be surprised.
Okay.
And then definitely don't ask too many personal questions straight away. So you don't want to be asking specifically where they work, where they live, because people might go, that might be a stalker.
It's freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really important to make that person feel special, not to ignore them.
Yes, hugely. Just say if you go out on a date and you didn't quite hit it off, then you need to let them down gently. Like I said right at the start, they're still a person. So if you meet and have coffee and you're just like, no, it wasn't there, don't just do a disappearing act. Give them the respect to say, whatever you need to say in a polite way.
Fabulous. Great tips, Danielle Di-Masi, thank you. And don't be obsessive, stalkery.
If
drive
the
past their house at night.
Does ignore you, then stop.
Yes.
Let it go.
Don't ring their phone and hang up.
So is it a positive or a negative saying you spend every weekend at Bunnings?
Depends if you like a woman that likes a DIY and her hardware.
I wouldn't mind a DIYer.
New sport and weather coming up after the break.
I'd be okay with it.
A DIYer?
Yeah, I'd want to save